Hello everybody and welcome back to Operation Logistics, where we're down to 7 errors in our migration of the building generation over into World Hex, which is super good. So all we need here is a reference to our current hex, right? So theoretically, we should be able to just grab that by determining what our current hex, what index our current hex is here. So we should be able to say something along the lines of it would be like int current hex building index, we'll say, equals, and this will be sub hex manager dot subhexes dot index of current hex. Okay, so that gives us our index of the current hex, which should be identical to our index of our biome hex dot buildings. So that would then allow us to say something along the lines of, instead of current hex dot current hex dot building, we would be able to check our biome hex dot buildings current hex building index. And it wouldn't be dot building. It would just be checking that directly. So then we should be able to replace current hex dot building like so. And instead of current hex dot on road, we have that in the hex store, right? Public int on road. We need a public list int, and this would be public list int on road equals new list int with, you guessed it, a capacity of 73. Okay, so that would then allow us to do something along the lines of biome hex dot on road index current hex building index equals I. So we would do the same thing here. So we would grab this, place this here, and then up here we would go ahead and, well, we would want it to be defaulted to something. Where would we default it to? Well, we default it right here. So equals -1. We don't have current hex building index, obviously. It would just be I. Okay. So then, let's take a quick look through here. In that case, we can go into building hex so that we don't miss this anymore and delete the on road. That may create some errors, and indeed it does, but that's good. We want those errors to exist. Like this here, we don't need that to happen anymore. Similarly, intersections. And next and previous road pieces. I don't think we want any of that to exist. Or rather, we want to move it. So then we would go up to... Actually, that's in the building hex. And we would say next road pieces, previous road pieces, and intersections. Now that creates a bunch of errors, but again, we don't want to be storing data here. This is just a display now. So if we don't store any data here, that's a good thing. So we can go ahead and in the sub-hex manager, we can comment this out. This doesn't need to happen anymore because this is just a display. Clearing the overlay color is fine, but otherwise, we're going to need to create some things in our hex store. So first thing we're going to create is a public list of a list of int, which would be intersections equals new list of a list of an int. Okay. With an index of 73, actually. Okay. Or rather, with a size of 73. And then we're going to need, in our building hex here, we're going to need a list of hex stores. So, public list hex store. Next road pieces equals new list hex store, size 73. I mean, actually, that doesn't need to be size 73. We don't need to have a specified size for those. And then public list of also hex store. And this will be previous road pieces equals new list of hex store. Okay, there we go. And then over here, I'm going to go up all the way to the top here and just start working our way down. So instead of current hex.building, it should, of course, be biomehex.building's current hex building index. So there we go. And then we'll set that there. And then instead of current hex.intersections.add, and actually I want to I want to make this be a bit shorter rather than current hex building index. I'm going to go ahead and rename that to building index, just so that that's a little bit less clunky. And then let's go ahead and do biomehex dot, okay, this is intersections. So biomehex dot intersections building index dot add current hex dot on road. So the thing is, the intersections, okay, these are actually going to need to be, the question is, can we do like that? Is that a syntax error? Surely it is. Yeah, it is. This is a collection here. So we could theoretically do like that? No. Just that? No. Okay, I think this is fine. 73 and 73, or just 73. I want just the first list to have 73 in it. The second list I don't much care about. And in fact, it can have fewer than that. So realistically, we've got nothing, int capacity, and IEnumerable list hex store collection. So when we have a nested list like this, I wonder. We'll see if this works. I just want this to compile right now, and then we'll see how broken it is. I'm gonna guess the answer is pretty broken. So biomehex.intersectionsbuildingindex.add current hex.onroad. We don't want to do current hex.onroad, we want to do biomehex.onroad, and we want this to be building index, like so. Okay, we're down to 15 errors. And then we go ahead and do biomehex.intersections building index .add I. Okay, that'll be fine. Else if biomehex.buildings building index equals road intersection generic, then we simply copy in this. Okay? And then down here, we are checking current hex.neighbors on road. So we're going to need to grab our neighbor index. So int neighbor index equals, And this is going to be sub-hex manager dot subhexes dot index of neighbors. So neighbors j. And this, of course, needs to be in parentheses, not square brackets. It doesn't seem to... Oh, that would be current hex dot neighbors j. Okay, so we grab that neighbor index, and then we'd be checking the biome hex. Okay, we're doing on road, so nope, not what I wanted to do. Biome hex dot on road neighbor index. So if biome hex dot on road neighbor index is not equal to I, that's a list of a list, isn't it? No, that's just a single list. Okay, so if biome hex dot on road neighbor index is not equal to I, and current hex dot neighbors j dot intersections dot contains. Okay, and not contains. So biome hex dot intersections neighbor index dot contains I. Possible locations dot add. Okay, so I realize this is probably very confusing. I myself am only partially keeping up with this. Like I said, we'll see how broken this is once we get these last 10 errors fixed. So next hex dot previous road pieces. So this should obviously be... Well, we're determining what our next hex is, and then we need to determine what our next hex index is. So int next hex index equals sub hex manager dot subhexes dot index of next hex. So there we go, we grab our index there. And now that we know our index, we can then say biome hex dot previous road pieces next hex index dot add. And instead of current hex, we would be adding biome hex dot... let's see here. We are doing current hex, which is considered to be biome hex dot buildings building index. That doesn't really work, though. So in our hex store, our next and our previous road pieces are a hex store. Maybe they should be an index instead? Because that's not going to work as it is, just directly ported over. I'm going to go ahead and undo this here. And we're going to leave that where it's at for right now while I consider this, and we'll just move on for time being. So our road equals roads subhex manager subhexes I dot on road. Obviously that's not going to work. So subhex manager dot roads, and this would then be something along the lines of we're looking for the index of the road we're currently on, so this would be biome hex dot on road I. Then we need another square bracket. Like that. Okay? Oh boy. Okay, so we're going to need to redo our neighbor index that we did up here. So I'm going to just go ahead and copy that. So neighbor index. And we're going to come on down here. So we're going to grab this neighbor index, and instead of current hex, this would be subhexes i.neighborsj. And of course, we're going to need subhex manager.subhexes. And then instead of doing this, we will be doing something along the lines of biome hex.buildings neighbor index, which is actually a little bit easier than all of this. Okay, and then next road pieces. So we're going to do the same thing here, which is biome hex.next road pieces, and this will need to be neighbor index dot contains, and we need, yeah, we just need, I think, to make this be an index. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's make this be an int, and same thing here, int, because each of these have a unique index already. We don't need to do an identifier. So this will be an int, and this will be an int. And then in the world hex, I'm going to bump back up here. And instead of current hex, this is going to be the building index. And next hex would be next hex index, like that. And instead of next hex.previous road pieces, it'll be biome hex.previous road pieces. And this will be building index. We'd be adding building index to itself. What would be the point of that? How do we actually use that? Right here. Okay. And then that's just on road. So this is the only place we actually use that. So we're just checking to see if it contains it so that the road doesn't loop back on itself. That's all that it is. So biome hex.previous road pieces. So if I bring this back, we have this to be next hex.previous road pieces. Right. So instead of doing building index here, we obviously need to do next hex index. So I'm just kind of dumb. Next hex index. There we go. And then biome hex.next road pieces for the building index. And then we add in next hex index. Excellent. Okay, so this cannot convert from building hex to int, obviously. So we're just checking to see if it contains the index. And then we don't need all of this because this will be biome hex.previous road pieces.contains. And then this will be and subhexes I neighbors j. Okay. Biome hex neighbor index dot contains, just checking to see if it contains I. Did not include that square bracket. There we go. And we're expecting an additional parenthesis, which I believe goes right here. Yes. That is indeed where that goes. So, down here, we are just checking to see, well, we're setting our road. So we can grab this road. Right. Biome hex.onroad I. As simple as that. And then the same thing here. Our road equal... Why am I setting this twice? This is the same thing. It's just getting set twice. So I think we can delete that, speed that up ever so slightly. And then finally, we just have this. Building hex, or rather biome hex dot onroad I dot toString. It compiled. 0 errors. Oh boy. So moment of truth. Now we can find out just how broken it is. It compiled. I'll be a little shocked if it just works perfectly. But we're about to find out. That's a lot of argument out of range exceptions. Okay. World hex, line 162, line 207. So world hex, line 207, argument out of range. Biome hex on road, building index equals I. Okay, so the on road here may not be properly initialized. So let's go in here. It also errored in world hex at line 162. Generate buildings, biome hexes I. Right. Okay, so line 207 here, biome hex on road building index. So building index. Where is building index set here? It's right here. Building index equals sub-subhexmanager.subhexes.index of current hex. Okay, so what was the index when it went out of range? That's the question. Sub-subhexmanager.subhexes.index of current hex. Let's go ahead and debug.log building index, because I want to know what that index is. So we can't find out how broken it is yet because it's too broken. So that's a good sign. Okay, let's see here. Oh yeah, this is a great sign. So it's 10. It's just always 10. I wonder. Let's check something real quick. So in our sub-hex manager, that's fine. I'm looking for the building hexes here because road entries map hex 10 is element 0 of the road entries. We're grabbing index 10, and then it's saying, well, there is no index 10 in on-road. But yet it's not erroring here. I wonder if it's just... Hang on. Let me check something. Let's go into our prefabs here. World hex. Biome hexes. Element 0. Buildings. Size 0. So yeah, that's definitely the problem. Okay. So when we are iterating through our biome hex dot buildings, biome hexes here. And then that gives us our biome hexes within the world hex. Yeah, so that's the problem. These are not properly initialized. So I guess we could say up here for int I equals 0, I is less than biome hexes. This is a list of hex store. Yes, biome hexes.count, I++. And then something along the lines of, in each biome hex, we need to go into our buildings, our building rotation, our scale multipliers, and our on-road, and say something along the lines of, while biome hexes I dot buildings dot count is less than 73, then we need to say biome hexes I dot buildings dot add building dot none for right now. And then we also need to add in the other three. So biome hexes I dot on road equals -1, or rather dot on road dot add -1. Biome hexes I dot building rotation dot add, and we're going to add in this quaternion dot Euler. Nope, not there. There. And then biome hexes I dot, what was the fourth one? It was scale multipliers. Dot scale multipliers equals vector3.1. Okay. List of vector 3. Oh, I did equals. Dot add. There we go. Okay. No errors. Let's see what that does. Once it compiles, there we go. I do want it to immediately pause here, but I want to play and have it do its startup stuff. And this actually might take a while because I didn't remove the debug right here. I should have removed that. Okay, we do still have argument exception is out of range. Nothing changed. If we go to our base hex here, go to our world hex, we do have 73. Building rotations and buildings and scale multipliers and on roads. This then actually did change to line 259. So line 259 here. Biome hex dot intersections. Ah. Yes. About that. Biome hexes I dot intersections dot add new list, and this would be of type integer? Yes. Okay, and then we're also going to need to say biome hexes I dot next road pieces dot add. And this should probably be... Well, actually, that one doesn't matter. Intersections does, to some degree. Let's see what that does. I'm actually also going to remove this debug.log, because that's going to be outputting millions of times, which can take a rather lengthy amount of time. Okay. Let's see if that works. I think we have our answer on how broken things are, though. The answer is fairly. Okay, are you done compiling? Good. Let's rerun this. And see how long this takes. a little while, for sure. Still argument out of range exceptions. Lovely. Line 269, exactly the same place. Right? Actually, no, it's in previous and next road pieces now. Because we absolutely do need to do that. What am I thinking? This is a list of lists. We can initialize it by saying biome hexes I dot next road pieces dot add new list int. We don't have to put anything in that list, but we have to have the list there. So biome hexes I previous road pieces dot add new list int, like so. Okay. Maybe that'll work. I can only hope. Let's see. At least get it to a point where it's, you know, running. It shouldn't take that long to generate all the buildings. I wouldn't think. Okay. Object reference not set to instance of an object. World hex, line 284. That's new. So, line 284. Oh. Manager.selected subhex.biome. Right. Right. Because that needs to be biome hex dot biome instead. Okay. Well, that was an easy fix. What else do we got? We are getting a little bit over on our time, but I'm just hoping that this works. If this works, great. If this doesn't work, I'm probably still going to put a cut in here because we are getting over our time pretty substantially. This is a bit of a lengthy one. It's either good or bad. Not sure which. I think it means it's actually getting through it. However, that does mean it's taking a long time to generate these buildings. And maybe we should be generating them, like, behind the scenes. And or on demand. It does have to generate, like, 13 million hexes worth of buildings. So we can generate it behind the scenes, like, you know, one every 10th of a second or something, unless you need one, and then it like has a stored variable about whether the buildings have been generated or not. That's a possibility. But this is certainly kind of unacceptably long. Which was something I was kind of afraid of. But that does mean I think it's just going, rather than erroring out partway in. Because if it was erroring out partway in, it should have errored by now. I'm going to give this like another minute and a half. And if it goes, great. If it doesn't go, well, we'll start going to on demand. But the ability to generate them on demand and periodically as we play the game, but still access them when needed, that's going to be huge. But yeah, I'll give this about another minute. And let me check my CPU utilization here. I don't have Task Manager open. Okay. Well, that's, you know, helpful. Let me pull that up quick. Task Manager. Okay. So Unity is currently not too bad on memory usage, actually. It's using about 3 gigs right now. Right there. Excellent. And of course it's utilizing a little over a full core. We can potentially also offload that generation onto a second core and have the main game loop do the normal generation. Using about 3 gigs right now. That's a little more than I'd like, but of course there's a lot of editor overhead there, and uncleaned up stuff from previous runs and such. We'd probably have to fully compile it to figure it out for sure. However, I'm going to go ahead and put a cut in here, and next episode, we'll start implementing some of that stuff where we space out the generation a little bit more. See you all then.